guys talk about anything that pops into their little brains, just for the fun and amusement of themselves and hopefully others. I'm Brian Noonan. With me, as always, the man in the robe. He's very leisurely tonight. He's the Hugh Hefner of the western suburbs. He is Cody Gough. Hi, Cody.
As soon as I put the robe on, I knew a Hugh Hefner reference would happen.
Well, you're a man of a certain age. You're broadcasting. You're in the public eye. You're wearing a bathrobe. That's the one analogy that most people, I think, would bring to you.
Sure, I get
That's
that.
it's hack. I get it. I see what you're saying. Already caught. Yeah, all right. I got you. It's lazy.
No, it was
very
good.
lazy.
You didn't disappoint. You didn't disappoint. All right, hey, I'm going to tell you, listener, what we're doing on the show today.
Yeah.
If Windows would stop just resizing me arbitrarily, I could see. Oh wait, I wrote them down on this sheet of paper.
Oh, okay.
Brian and I attended 2 beer events. One very high profile, or low profile, very, very fancy, very exciting, both of them very exciting in different ways. Brian's it's going well. Brian,
you wrote this down. You wrote this down? This is actually prepared?
No, I just wrote Goose Island and Fobab, which
okay.
So we'll talk about beers, which is great.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about some beer.
But first, we'll probably start with that. Brian, later we'll get to Brian being his first foray into being a gym teacher, and then if I can survive until the end of the podcast, we will end with a political adjacent topic. I have a take on what is happening in the world right now that I don't actually think will offend people.
Oh, anyone? It will, because it's an opinion.
I think you'd be surprised. So, yeah, just
I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying, as an opinion,
that's true.
Somebody is always going to complain about an opinion.
That's true. But as ones go, I'm excited to talk about it. So, it'll be a little bit of shorter episode, probably closer to an hour, just because schedules and stuff. So we'll get to it quickly. But first, our 5-second, 30-second check-in. The reason it took me so long to get to my check-in is because earlier tonight, Brian, I was experiencing extreme anxiety.
Oh no!
And I don't know why. Like
it wasn't your generation. Your generation is anxiety prone.
No,
what happened?
I don't know. No, nothing happened. That's the thing. You know how sometimes if I over-caffeinate too much, I feel really anxious.
Describe to me what that feels like, because I hear that from a certain female progeny of mine, and that she gets anxious. And I'm sure I do too. I just don't know how to identify it.
Boy, it's really hard to describe. It's just like the feeling that things are not right.
Okay.
Like if you parked your car and you were like at like a 10-degree angle over a line.
Yes.
And you saw it and you just had to walk away but to a party that's in like the lawn next to the parking lot, like it would just, not sit well. Right. So that kind of feeling, and it's not something you're necessarily actively thinking about. There's just this like, there's a lack of closure or follow through or something, or you don't know where something's going and you're just anxious about it.
Okay. I hear that. I've experienced that. I think I experience that most of the time.
Oh,
but yeah, no, I get it. So how do you overcome it? Deep breathing exercises? Do you,
so that brings me to why I, am talking the way I am. And it's because I did a CBD edible about an hour and a half ago. So
all right.
We'll see how articulate I am. I'll do my best. I'm obviously not at 100%, or I'm just going to fake it really well.
This is going to be great.
Or I'm just bad normally, and so no one will notice the difference. Any way you shake it, Brian.
I'm very excited that you are doing this. And does the robe, the comfort of the flannel robe, help ease that anxiety? And I don't say that to be a smarty pants.
No. It's a valid question. No, in this particular, because if I were like on acid or a psychedelic, or even MDMA, I would very much want to curl up into like a fuzzy blanket. Those are things certain drugs induce.
Sure.
So one could think maybe anxiety or even CBD makes you want to. But no, I was just kind of like, it's kind of probably cold in my office, so I better grab my robe.
I
Nothing
like it.
fancy. Yeah.
All right, listen, that's great.
Yeah. What is your deal
Oh,
today?
I feel like a steaming pile of corn-infused dog poop. That's what's going on. I was battling a cold. I started battling a cold last week. You know why? Because I was back around the kids and they got me sick. So, like I was supposed to go before, and we'll talk about we went to a beer event on Saturday, like you said. I was supposed to go to brunch prior to that. I canceled the brunch because Friday I felt so awful. I ended up sleeping for like 12 hours the night before. So it's one of the, but I'm not sleeping. The problem is that I have it's a cold. I have a bad cold, but it's sinus and it's a cough. And so I have to sleep kind of sitting up. But by sleep sitting up, I mean I lay in my bed. And last night I was up, I watched the clock literally. And I know you love when people say literally and they don't mean it. I was literally up every hour because I would wake up, I would look at the clock, I'd go, oh, it's been another hour. Then, being an old man, I not only had to get up and hack up a bunch of goo, I had to pee. So then I go back and I kind of half lay down, I'm half sitting up, and another hour would go by. And then today it was off to school. So I'm feeling wonderful. So
Ugh.
if my mic cuts out, it's not my mic cutting out. Trust me, it's me sparing you listening to a couple lungs come up. But, so that's that.
Well,
But my voice is very husky and sexy, don't you think?
yeah, it is. We're
It
both
is.
clearly not at 100%, but it is not because we over imbibed last week. I thought we actually were quite responsible despite going to multiple beer events.
Yes, I was I think the quote of the week, if I may say so, was one of us, and I don't want to I'm not going to out either one of us, but one of us saying, if I don't leave here drunk, I'm going to be really mad.
So I think that's the part of a quote.
All right, listen, who knows?
I think the full quote was something more along the lines of, I don't like feeling drunk. I don't really like feeling tipsy, and I haven't been drinking much lately. But weirdly, the more I drink here and the more altered I feel, the more I would like to continue to be altered. Like at this
I
point,
would have remembered that long, crazy quote. The more you talk, the more my quote is 100% accurate.
what my quote was also 100% accurate.
Who did
That
you
is what
say it to?
I said it to you, and that preceded me saying, I honestly might be mad if I don't leave drunk. No, maybe I didn't say the
I don't
rest.
remember any of those words up until that sentence.
I vividly remember them, and I think I quoted myself. Anyway, the point
All
was,
right, that's fair enough.
again, weirdly, I don't like feeling drunk, and weirdly, like, we were there for, like, 3 hours, almost 3 hours when,
4. Oh, well, I left
well
at 4.
oh, yeah, I
Oh,
left after
which
that.
night are we talking about?
Yeah, no, I left after that. So we were there I was there for, like, 4 hours, and, like, 3.5 hours go by, we were, like, doing stuff the whole time, talking to brewers and, like, I was, like, sipping here and there, not really feeling a whole lot. But, yeah, that last half hour, like, I don't know, my wife called, she's like, "I'll come get you." And I'm really just like, "Oh, man, I'm a little bit tipsy, I better go get a little bit more." So I just, like, pounded, like, 4 samples, and it doesn't take a lot, right? I'm not like
No.
I'm gonna, like, binge drink. I'm like,
Well,
basically, I wanna do a few shots.
let's set the scene for where we were and explain all that, and not just like we weren't just wandering the streets looking to get hammered.
Oh, I was on Sunday.
Oh, were you? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You have a lot of outings. You have a lot of boozy outings.
That's true. All right. We were at the Festival of Wood Barrel Aged Beer at the place that used to
Credit One Bank Arena.
Credit One Bank Arena, formerly the UIC Pavilion, and
Right.
hundreds of brewers from
Or
around the
over 400.
hundreds from
Over
around the country
400s, right.
come and show off their barrel aged beer and many other varieties, including lagers, sours, other specialty
Barley
beers,
wines,
barley wines, wheat wines,
other dark
etc.
stouts.
Other dark stouts. They come to enter competitions, showcase their beers, let people sample them ad nauseum, and enter in competitions. And they receive ribbons, or is it ribbons?
There's a medal. They get a piece of a
A me-
bourbon barrel. is
Mm.
part of it, and then they get a giant medal that says FOBAB, whatever year it is, 2023.
Yeah. So I meant medal when I said ribbon. When I
Okay.
said ribbon. But yeah, you can win those. It's a really big deal, and a couple local favorites won some pretty cool awards. And you walk around and sample it, and it's a really good time. Brian and I've gone several years in the past. If you look on the
Yes.
Facebook page for FOBAB, FOBAB, you can probably find videos of me way more inebriated than I was this past weekend. But yeah, we've had a really good time, and we had a great time there.
Well, this was different because for the first time we took Crafty Brewers Tales Behind Craft Beer on the road, and so we were going there to work for all intents and purposes, and we were all branded up. We each had on a Crafty Brewers shirt or sweatshirt, and Catherine and Cody and I got there, and then we proceeded to work for the first part, to the point where at one point I was actually saying I need a beer because we were doing all these interviews and we hadn't stopped to have a drink. We had had a couple. We walked around. We were lucky enough to we interviewed one of the guys who created Fobab. We interviewed some great brewers, like Cody said. It was a lot of fun, but it was work, you know? So Cody was doing a great job producing, and Catherine and I were talking to these people, and everybody seemed into it. Everybody we talked to was like, yeah, we'll talk to you. And so time was flying by. And then we realized at about 2 o'clock, we hadn't really taken advantage of Fobab like we normally do. And so then we, you know, we got some more interviews and we had, but it was a good time. It was a different perspective because I've never left Fobag without even any sort of buzz at all. Like to the point where I could have driven myself. That's how, because you know, I got in the, Debbie picked me up. I got in the car and I'm like, wow, I don't feel anything. Because we were walking around, I was sweating everything out because we were, you know, interviewing. I was wearing a hoodie, so I was very warm. And we just kept going. We didn't even really stop to like sit down. And
No,
that was
we did
5
not.
hours because 4 hours because we got in at noon and I left at 4. So it was 4 hours of nonstop. Usually it's 4 hours of nonstop drinking.
Yeah.
And then Cody and I are, you know, recording ridiculous stuff and Cody is just screaming at a camera. But this time we were very coherent.
I
I
thought
did
so.
This was fun at the end because Catherine left and Cody and I were there and we were both trying to hit up some extra, you know, stuff before we left. And it led to our last interview, but I'm sure you heard this guy walks up to me and he goes, "Are you a celebrity?" And I thought he was joking, but he seemed pretty serious. And I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Are you a celebrity?" I go, "I don't think so. No." He goes, "Well, you were over there by the awards thing, and you had a real microphone, and they were pointing a camera at you, and you were talking to people. So, are you a celebrity?" I was like, "No, I'm a radio guy with a podcast." And he was like, "Oh," so we started talking about the podcast. Then he introduced us to his buddy, and that's where Cody put on his producer hat.
Well, I mean, yeah, he introduced his buddy who said he homebrews, but not just that he homebrews barley wine,
Yeah,
which barley wine and wheat wine, like wheat wine might be like it might be my favorite beer is any wheat wine.
yeah,
Barley wine a close second. I mean, I do like barley wines so much. Revolution has one, Straight Jacket, and I almost always have a 4-pack in my fridge all year
nice.
round. Like, if I just feel like, something a little thicker, more syrupy, just it's so good.
It is
Point
really good.
is, I thought the idea of brewing it would be an interesting conversation, and the
Yes,
fact that, like, we had talked to a bunch of professional brewers, almost all of them to a one started by home brewing. So it's like, let's talk to a guy that's at the start, like home brewing, just
right.
wanna be a brewer, how does he do it? How does he do it? So, yeah, Brian had a great interview with him and to Brian's hosting credit of just being able to on the spot, like, boom, I'm just gonna ask questions to this totally random dude and make it sound really good. So
And
I'm
the totally
excited to
random dude who at first was kind of hesitant, just like everybody we've talked to, either on the podcast or the minute they start talking about beer, they're they don't care who they're talking to. This guy went from being, I don't know, to, oh, well, the grain has to blah, 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 blah. And I was like, this is fantastic. So kudos to Cody for jumping in. Hello to everybody in the chat who's been sending hello messages. We're glad you're here. Roger is jumping in. Glad to see you, Roger. Hope all is well. And yeah, so that was fun. So Phobab was a good time. I am realizing that there are some really good things at Phobab. And then there's some ones that I just, I don't know. They're not good.
Yeah, it's funny. Both of us, we also have video of this. So I am on camera a bit during this upcoming Crafty Brewers. Very exciting. But Brian and I both do an on-camera segment where we talk about this apple pie. Was it a barley wine?
No, we don't know what it was. It was in the experimental category.
It was in the experimental, yeah.
So it was from Tangled Root.
Yeah. So there's this apple pie beer that was to die for, but in a different aisle, there was an apple pie stout and like an apple pie bourbon stout or something. And then next to that was like a peach one. And I tried the apple pie one of that and I almost gagged and I dumped it out immediately. And I was like, I'm not even going to try the peach one.
No, I tried that first one too, and I was very disappointed. That's why I was so glad I found the one from Tangled Root, because it was like a double imperial apple pie. I don't know. It didn't even have a style to it.
Didn't make sense.
But man, it tasted great. Oh, look who's here. The third leg of the tripod, Catherine Vallow from Crafty Brewers, Tales Behind Craft Beer. Catherine was there. And she was adding her insight to the interviews, and she was doing a great job corralling people.
Yes, it was really fun.
To the point it was like, oh my God, she keeps grabbing everything. But we met some really cool people and lined up people for the podcast down the road, and and met some great people. Had a really good time. It was
a very good.
It was always fun.
Very good team effort. I thought you both did awesome. I did a couple of cool things.
No, nice. You got to do a few things. There were a couple times where I just got to be off, which was nice.
There was and I learned, you were with me, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that I discovered or like realized my love for beers aged in cognac barrels.
Oh, I did not know that.
Was that the one? It was up in the pavilion around the edge where I met my my like cousin's ex.
How weird was that?
That was very weird. There was
that story.
There was this woman pouring the samples because they have volunteers pour the samples basically throughout the day out of a pitcher usually, or sometimes right from the tap or in a can. And I go up and ask for this thing aged in cognac barrels, and she was like, "Oh, hey, Cody." Blah, blah, blah. I'm like your cousin's kids, like mom, his ex or whatever.
Your cousin's
and I'm
kids'
like,
moms.
And I'm like, I literally, so I haven't even seen the cousin in question, with whom she has a child. I have not seen him since high school minimum, possibly longer. So 20 years.
Oh my God.
Which means, and he's not that much older than me. So it's not like I was like, we were both 15 or something. It was like I was 15. He's probably like 20 or 21. Somehow she recognized me. And she's like, I mean, it's hard not to. You're tall. I get it. There's some family resemblance. There must be pictures around or something. But it was really funny because I was like, that's so random. And then the other person pouring next to her was her sister, who
I wasn't following that whole connection. I followed that they were sisters, but the whole thing with you, I thought they were like somebody's ex-girlfriend who they dated a lot. I was lost by that point.
Yeah, I just thought it was really funny and cool. She was really fun to talk to. Yeah, she's doing well, so that was nice. I'm like, cool person I definitely have not interacted with.
I tried something from that table. I don't know if it was in the cognac barrels. I don't know if I've had a cognac barrel. I've had a number of things in a gin barrel. Don't like it. And I like gin, but I don't like stouts in a gin barrel. I don't like them in wine barrels, and I love to drink wine. I did like, we tried from Off Color Brewing, a beer for tacos, it was aged in mezcal barrels. A beer for tacos. That was really good.
I don't know if I remember the name. I don't
Because
remember if I
Catherine had said she loved Beer for Tacos from Off Color Brewing because they have a
That's right.
Beer for series. Molly had given me some beer for relaxing, and it was very nice. And so I saw it. I was like, oh, hey, we got to try this. And so I know Catherine and I tried it. I wasn't sure if you tried it.
Don't remember.
Who knows?
But it was good.
It was good. Yep. So a lot of science. Well, we had learned so much a couple nights previous.
Yeah.
Because we are nothing if not beer aficionados.
Yeah. And by the way, the beer that I liked was called Others in Darkness Cognac
Ooh.
Barrel from Verboten Brewing and Barrel Project in Loveland, Colorado.
Ooh, yeah, that table. There were a number of Colorado and California ones right in that little curve of the upstairs because we tried something from Placentia, California, and I can't remember what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I found because I was so busy with the podcast, like I wasn't taking pictures like I usually do of anything really. I was
For those who have not there's a big difference between attending an event and working at an event as
yes.
like a journalist. Even like for fun, if longtime
Thank you. That
listeners.
was first of all, that was very, very that was a nice flex that we were working as journalists.
Well,
But I enjoyed it. I
we're
enjoyed it immensely, and I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just thanking you for that label.
anytime.
All right.
So, yeah, longtime people who know this program know that I go to Gen Con, world's largest gaming convention every year in Indianapolis. Well, one year I did a podcast at it, like as a presenter, not as just an attendee walking around with his friends doing what he wanted, and like that really changed the dynamic. And I couldn't
Yeah.
like relax the first day because I'm like thinking about the next day's event, wanting it to go well. And then the next day, I got to get all the podcast equipment. I got to go get set up. Like it's really far from everything in the event space because they just put you where you go. So, yeah, it changes the dynamic. And it was the same with Fobab. It was, I mean, I'm not walking around like sample beer, look at the thing, write down whatever. I'm like running around being like, who will talk to us and giving them
Yeah.
microphones and watching their VU meters and then filming on my phone with my right hand while I'm holding the Zoom here. And, pulling out things, trying to tweet pictures and stuff, and I didn't tweet any pictures. But
Yeah,
yeah.
I didn't post anything from there. And usually we're posting all the time. We're doing lives. I did one Instagram live. Catherine and I did an Instagram live from the Crafty Brewers site.
Oh, you
when we
did?
first got there. Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, well, we were waiting for you.
If anybody is upset about the us not broadcasting on Facebook Live from Fobab, that is my fault. Brian tried like twice, and I was like, "There's no internet," and we tried it last year, and we won't be able to get a connection, and it didn't work last year.
And you were sober.
And I was actually sober. And what was the other thing I said? "Oh, and there's no time. Like right now, we need to interview somebody. Let's go interview somebody, and not
Yeah, we
and
were.
you know."
Cody was a taskmaster because I kept, well, I was too. I wanted it to go well. And Catherine was we were all, the three of us were very serious. I couldn't believe how actually focused all three of us were. It was like we were there to do a job and we did the job. And I kept checking, all right, how much more do we need? How much more do we need? Because in my mind, it was twofold. One, I wanted to make sure we had enough. Two, if we had enough, I wanted to start drinking. So it was like, okay, what are we going to do? We have enough? If we don't have enough, let's get enough. And then Craig's always very upset. I don't know why Craig is upset. Why? Just because we didn't go
Because I said,
Facebook Live. Yeah.
because I said, yeah, we didn't Facebook Live. I know. I will
know.
send you a
Sorry,
text
Craig.
personally apologizing for
Wow. To
that.
everybody who's upset by that?
Yeah, no, just Craig.
Oh, just Craig. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Well, that's nice.
He will, on behalf of everyone, accept my forgiveness.
Well, will he accept your apology or not?
Well,
That's yet to be seen.
or reject it, but he now speaks for everyone.
Oh, wow. So Craig's got that weight on his shoulder.
Yeah, well, it's a responsibility,
He's up
but
to it. It
a
just,
privilege at the same time,
All right. Yeah, it's a burden. With great power comes great responsibility. He's going to learn that pretty quick.
It's a burden or a Bourbon County Stout.
Ha ha, clever.
Hello.
Is that edible
Nice.
kicking? Whoa, your eyes are, now I can see that you're on an edible.
Nice
Whoa.
transition.
Wow.
Let's go.
You are HAF.
I am nothing of the sort.
All right, good.
Look at that transition.
It was a great transition to Bourbon County Stouts. Cody with his Goose Island t-shirt on tonight. He was hiding. That's why he was wearing the bathrobe, to conceal his the fact that he is a billboard for Goose Island Brewing Company. And Wednesday night we were, oh man, again, this is, I love perks. I love any kind of special treatment.
Oh my God.
It doesn't matter how grand it is. It doesn't matter how small it is. Pardon me. Any kind of special treatment I enjoy, or any kind of invitation to an exclusive event. And we were privileged to be invited again to the Bourbon County Stout media tasting at the Bourbon County, or at the Goose Island Barrel House, which is, I keep hoping I have some event. I don't know what kind of event I have that I would throw, but I would like to throw it there because it's a really cool venue. It's fantastic. And I know, like, if and when Molly were ever going to get married, she wants to go like to some destination wedding. She's not going to come here. Yeah, it was great. So and Cody and I have been lucky enough to go to this before too. It was a very small group of attendees, because there were like 4 of the main Goose Island people, the CEO, and then the innovation manager, Mike Siegel, who we've talked to before, the brand manager. There was a brewer. There were a couple other brewers. And then there was a representative from Angel's Envy, which is a rye whiskey that they partnered with this year for one of their variants. And then some, like, from, I think, traditional media. There were you and I count as traditional media because of the radio station. Mm-hmm. And then we're podcasters as well. And then there's Dave Plyer, our friend from WGN. We met Dane Planko from Fox 32 News. So, but then I think everybody else was like bloggers and stuff, which is fine. But it was, the funny part was, as we go, we're sampling the different variants, and Cody was very diligent about taking notes. He was very.
Oh, let me grab my note.
You're very good about taking the notes. I always kind of I remember the broad strokes, but Cody, myself, and Dave Plyer were asking very good, interesting questions. And everybody else was just sitting there like, hey, we're drinking for free and eating kettle chips. This is great. But we're asking, like, they would explain, because that's what we do. We interview people. And so we were asking a lot of questions, to the point where the PR guy sent us a little note going, hey, we really appreciated you guys being there and the very thoughtful, intelligent questions you asked throughout the night. I'm like, yeah.
Sweet.
Right. I'll be expecting 2 or 3 cases of every variant. That's not true. I'd die. But yeah, so it's a beautiful venue. And the beers this year, again, there's 6 different variants of this year's Bourbon County Stouts. As I'm looking, yeah, there's 6. Am I right, Cody, or is there more?
Oh, I don't know. I got to Google it. We sampled 6.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm looking at it online.
Oh, then there you go.
I'm looking right at the
which is nice that we got to try them all, because typically them all. Typically they release more. They release 7 or 8. And the last time we went to the media thing, we got to try, I think, 6.
Yeah,
I don't think
I know when they've come on here, we've tried a couple. I think at the media thing they let you we've tried them all before, because they lay them out on a little placemat they're all labeled, and they have little charcuterie boards and different things for everyone to sample. And beforehand, it was nice. They had some Honkers Ale to start, so you could start out a little lighter, just have a beer to ease you into things. And there were some samples from Angel's Envy, and yeah, it was great. So 6 different offerings this year. I thought it was a strong lineup all the way through. Now that being said, of course, I know each of us has our favorites, but overall, not a weak link in the bunch, I didn't think.
Um, yeah, I would have to agree with that. But I will also say I think I lost, and I don't have COVID, but at some point I was a little bit stuffy because my kids have been sick, and I wasn't
Yeah.
sick when I went, but I was definitely not 100%, and, a little phlegmy and stuff. Like, after the first few, I thought very distinct flavors, and I could really tell the difference, and the 4th one and the 5th one, which have a lot of flavor, specifically, I was like, "Oh my god, I can't, like, taste it that well," and I know it was because I also couldn't smell anything. I put my nose in every single glass, I could not smell it. I was really upset by that
You
because
turned to me at one point and you were like, I think I'm like you. I can't smell or taste anything. You said, "Do you think I have COVID? I can't smell it." Or no, you wrote me a note in your little notebook. And you and I'm like, "Oh no, I hope you don't. I
Oh,
don't think
that's
you
right.
do."
No, I do not have COVID. Do you know how many tests I have? I was reorganizing my medicine cabinet the other day, and I think I have, like, 48 COVID tests.
I have about the same amount. We have so many COVID tests. I might take one for fun just tomorrow, just to
Oh,
see what's going on.
why not?
Well, because every time you get a cold now, you got to take a COVID test. And I'm like, I'm sure it's just a cold because I remember what colds are. And I was also, exposed to snot sprinklers. So, you know,
It's
that's
a
that.
beautiful way of putting it. Do you want me to get into any of these
Yeah,
drugs at
let's
all?
get into them.
Alright,
Well,
first of all
let's stipulate that the base Bourbon County Stout is always good.
yeah,
So I think we could stipulate to that one. That's always good. It's what they use to as the base for all of the other variants. And but yeah, see because you are able to give a different and a more targeted description because you do have a sense of smell.
well, I didn't that night, though.
That night, hey, yeah, how did it feel? Sucks, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's pretty
Yeah,
annoying.
it blows. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, the original was good. I wanna lead with and I think if you don't care about beer, don't skip ahead. This is still cool,
Yeah,
even if you have no interest in beer at all. The first thing they did, so we were sitting in the main barrel house room, there were some plush chairs set up, made to look like a very, like, rich person's
yeah,
room,
like leather couches and
leather
well-appointed
couches.
chairs.
It really was, like, really kinda over the top, like, cozy in the best way, and, so they're like, "We have a surprise," and they take us back to, where one of the barrels is that, like, it wasn't a good barrel. They, like, someone sent them the wrong barrel that they couldn't really use,
It
so
wasn't old enough.
yeah, it wasn't old enough. So a dude, like, took a chainsaw and just, like, sliced through it. That was kinda cool.
It
So we
was
saw
cool.
the boards fell apart. We could, like, smell them to smell what the inside of a bourbon barrel smells like. But then they shared with me what I think is the coolest thing I've ever learned about Bourbon County Stout that I've never known over, like, 10 years of interviewing these guys with Brian, and that is that it is infused with Chicago itself. And I'm not talking about the water, or the some other weird, I don't know, Brian's probably got some funny joke, but it's not what I'm talking about. The crime, it doesn't have it's not the corruption. It is
There's no
infused
Jardinera in there.
no, it is infused with the climate of Chicago, which I think
Yes.
we, Chicagoans all know is a very distinct characteristic, a very defining personality trait of this city, this fair city. And the reason I say that is because they don't age them in their warehouse. They don't put them in some climate controlled facility.
Right.
They don't like control all the variables. They put the Bourbon County stout barrels outside. And it's because of the extreme weather in Chicago, the really hot hots and the really cold colds and the really dry winters and the really humid summers. It's because of that Chicago is an ideal spot to age them, because that gives it character, as the barrels expand and contract. Sometimes if it's a really dry winter, more of the water will evaporate out of the barrel, which will actually increase the ABV of that batch. And then in other years that are more mild, it gives it different characteristics. But, I thought that was beautiful because they sit outside for, I think it was 6 to 18 months or 9 to 18.
Yeah.
It's up to 18. Probably 9 to 18 makes more sense, 10 to 18, somewhere in there. And yeah, and they just age outside, they expand, contract, and that's where they get the flavor. And it's, I thought really beautiful, because like Bourbon County Stout is so associated with Chicago, right? The
Right.
proprietor's brand only comes out in Chicago, right? It's always stood for that. but to actually taste it in the beer, where you pop one back, you go, "Oh, yeah, I taste last year." Especially to have it around Thanksgiving time when you're, like, wrapping up the year and, like, looking back, it's just like, "Oh, I'm just gonna drink in all of the previous year or year and a half of weather and time in Chicago and enjoy this and then move on to my next year."
Yeah, that was very there. We always tend to learn something new. I mean, we've talked, as you mentioned, Cody, we've talked to the Goose Island folks for a long time, and you think oh yeah, we know a lot, but there's always something new to learn. But that was the like you said, the storage, they made a big point of saying this is not temperature controlled. It's whatever happens, happens.
Yeah.
And I was surprised with when we learned that barrels have to be a certain age. They have to be, and the fact that the one that they cut up wasn't old enough. It was like tuba didn't pass. And they try to and how fast they get them there. One of the questions we asked was how quick when they empty a barrel of bourbon or whatever spirit they're using, it's called dumping. So when they dump the barrel, you would think, well, it takes a while for them to get, but they said sometimes if a barrel is dumped on Tuesday somewhere in Kentucky, it's in Chicago by Friday. So there's still quite a bit of whiskey in these barrels because the barrels will then the whiskey will seep out of the wood into the barrel, and that's called the angel's share. They said a lot of the brewers have jars of that, that whiskey unmarked just sitting on their shelves.
That's so cool. Yeah. It's cool. It's like
It's really cool.
yeah, I was telling somebody earlier today that, I've been doing a beer podcast and, like, beer is science. Beer is like chemistry. There's cool
Beer is
stuff.
crazy science. I'm in my carbonation phase of my homebrew. So I got another week it's got to sit before I can put it in the fridge. And then you got to then we'll have some. I'm debating between two names. Cranky Geezer Amber Ale is the first one because I thought, why not? And then Milford Amber Ale because that's my family home in Ireland.
It's pretty I like that one. But I
You
still have
like
the Cranky Geezer, though.
Cranky Geezer? I think Cranky Geezer, and it fits the brewer too. That's why I went with it. So we'll put that out. All right. So what'd you think of the beers?
Yeah, so they had the 2-year reserve. Was that the one that was, aged in the, Angel's Envy? Or was it the cask?
Cask one was Angel's Envy, I'm pretty sure.
Cask was Angel's Envy?
Yeah, let me go through. Hold on. I'm looking at it now.
Oh, double check, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should have written that down. Anyway.
My notes are downstairs. That's why I don't have them, unfortunately.
I see. Well.
Yeah. Angel's 2-year cask finish stout. Angel's Envy was the cask. Yep.
The cask finished stout? No,
Yes.
okay. Not the 2-year reserve.
No,
okay.
Cask finish stout. Inspired by the innovation of our friends at Angel's Envy, we embarked on a journey to further develop the complexity of barrel-aged stout.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it. You get flavors of cherry, spice, and cocoa.
Oh, okay.
Did you get those?
Yeah. We'll find out. I'll look at my notes now. So these are the first 2 beers, and they were both my favorites.
Yes.
The 2-year reserve is like a regular Bourbon County stout, maybe a little like boozier, quote unquote. But what separated it was that you could taste the whiskey in the what does that say? Flavor notes in the flavor notes.
Mm-hmm.
My handwriting. You could taste the whiskey in the flavor notes. Like the aftertaste, you would get the part of whiskey that's not bitter or harsh, like the smooth part of whiskey. Only that character comes through in the aftertaste, and you get it, and you're like, ooh, like it's very nice.
Part of that is the bourbon they use. Those are Eagle Rare 10-year barrels. So Eagle Rare is like a top tier bourbon from Kentucky, which is to be bourbon you have to be from Kentucky. But Eagle Rare. So these are barrels that have aged that whiskey for 10 years, and then they come and they said that they as unique as Bourbon County Stout is to Chicago, Eagle Rare is that to Kentucky.
Oh, okay.
And so putting them in those barrels, and that's where you're getting, Cody's description of the whiskey back end is very apt, because it wasn't it was a nice mellow bourbony flavor. It wasn't harsh, it wasn't overbearing. It was just, you're kind of there. You got a nice warm vanilla
Yeah.
kind of flavor to it, a little bit of almonds. So it was, yeah, that they did that with that Blanton's one too, where they're taking this all their partners for the bourbon are unbelievable. And so when you're using barrels that have aged that kind of bourbon in it, you're going to get a superior product.
Yeah, it was great. And as you also said, a little thicker, maltier than the BCS original. And I did write down cocoa notes.
Cocoa
I
notes.
got the cocoa notes. So that was the 2-year reserve. And between that and the cask finish, which is the one with Angel's Envy, this
Mhm.
is Angel's Envy finished rye. We got a little bottle to go home with,
Yeah.
which was very nice. Some reps from Angel's Envy were there. Very nice people, and very, very nice rye whiskey
Yeah.
finished in Caribbean rum casks. Like I had some of it straight when they were there. Oh my God, so good. So I like this. Now I like this more than the 2-year. Others
Well,
did
this
not.
one, because not only was it aged in the Angel's Envy barrels, then it was moved to port wine barrels from Portugal. That's the second
Right.
step of this one. That's why this cask age ruby port wine barrels gave it a different finish. You did get a little bit of that port wine, that desserty kind of, the heavy port wine feel toward the end. And it also, if you remember, what do you remember about the color of this one, Cody?
Reddish.
It was reddish, correct. Very good. And they pointed that out. So we all held our little telephone lights up and went, "Oh, it is red," like we were children. "Oh, it's red." It was very exciting.
Yeah. But the 2-year I wrote down that the 2-year is boozier and the
Yes.
cask finish one is more bitter, but in a good way, is how I described it.
I remember you trying to find the words to describe it that night, but
Oh, this was the
you
one
did
I
rave
couldn't
about it.
this was the one I couldn't figure out how to describe because I looked at another guy and he said, I like the 2-year a lot better. And I go, I love this one. And he goes, why? And I was like, I
I
can't put it into
don't
words.
know.
It has characters that I'm not familiar with, I guess. Probably tannin. Everyone always says tannin, right? Was it
Sure,
tannin?
tannin. Oh, it's
Sure,
tannins.
just
That's
tannin.
from
Just
the
call it
wine, the tannins. Yeah. Oh,
sure,
yeah,
it's
tannins.
tannin and whatever. Sure,
Tannen
tannin.
O'Neill. She was great in Paper Moon. Um, I'll just leave that there for any
Sure,
maybe old people who might have gotten that one.
that's fine.
All right.
Everyone has different tastes in beers. So this
That's
happened
true.
with the year they did the black tea stout.
Oh, you love the Earl Grey.
No, I hated that one.
Oh, okay.
I have one in my fridge, but my wife she's like, this is my favorite one they've ever done.
Really?
Yeah, so I kept it. So I kept one. So we've still got
Okay.
one. She'll drink it any night. So to that point, usually they're not that polarizing. Like I think most people generally like them all, but to varying degrees. That
Right.
was one where they really went out. They went on a limb and they knew it. They're like, oh, let's push the envelope and see what happens. And I think it worked in the end. Just not for everybody, right?
Right.
Same with this. So that's 2-year in cask. Maybe you'll like one and not the other. And then we got to the backyard stout, reminiscence of a 2013 variety. So this is where my sense of taste started to kind of wane.
Yeah.
I was just like, maybe it was a little bit like of a bitter-ish berry flavor, since they used
They were
mulberries.
they had three kinds of berries because they were talking Marionberries, boysenberries, and mulberries. And they were talking about picking them local, and it was um supposedly like the flavors of the neighborhood and the flavors of Chicago. And you're right, they released Backyard Rye in 2013. And so this was a different thing. And yeah, there was a little bit of chocolate and vanilla notes, but there was a lot of the berry notes in there.
Mhm.
And yeah, it wasn't my favorite. I didn't I like berries. I
Yeah.
don't know. It wasn't like I didn't have the visceral reaction I did to that Earl Grey one, which I did not like a couple years ago. This one, I'm like, if somebody said, "Hey, I got a backyard stout, you want to sit down?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, why not? Let's enjoy it. Let's get a snifter, roll it around, and have it." But yeah, so it's yeah, Mike, I don't know. I don't know what a Marionberry is, except a mayor who smoked crack in Washington, D.C. And yeah.
Do you remember the beer last year with the like royal blue label?
Last year with the royal blue label. No.
It was the biscotti one.
Oh yeah, with the cherry and the
Yes.
yes.
The biscotti, I think in terms of like not weirdness, but like whatever we're trying to describe, I would hearken this to the biscotti one. So different
Okay.
flavor, but something where you drink it. And like for the biscotti one, for me personally, sometimes I loved it, and other times I would sip it and I'm like, I'm not sure what I'm drinking right now. This for me was kind of I'm not sure what I'm drinking right now, but not necessarily in a bad way. I finished it.
Yeah.
Like you said, I certainly didn't not enjoy it, but it had an odd character. So I think it's definitely worth checking out. Just like to see if you like it, because you might really love it. I can see a lot of people really loving it. For me, not my favorite, but again, whatever. And then we go on to the Bananas Foster, which
Which
this is where I just stopped being able to taste anything for like 10 minutes.
that was a shame.
I know. I was so
It
excited and
was
I
a
couldn't smell
shame.
anything. So you got to review this one.
All right. Well, the Banana Foster had a great story because one of the brewer who came up with this one was there, and he had tried to get this recipe in 3 or 4 times, and he had failed. In 2017, finally they put out um, it as a proprietor stout, Bananas Foster, and now they decided to bring it back. And everybody thought, oh, bananas wasn't going to be good. They talked about the almonds, how many thousands of pounds of almonds they had in the batches, and they had to use whole almonds, slivered almonds, and then chopped almonds to get the right flavors with all this. So you're getting a banana flavor, then you get brown sugar, and you get cinnamon, and you get some almond flavor in there. It's a really nice this is for after dinner when the fire is going and you're going to maybe smoke a cigar or just sit around and have a good time. It was not I know when I say brown sugar and almonds and stuff. Cody, talk for a second.
Yeah, you probably think like really too overly sweet, maybe Christmas, but no. This one was a hit, by the way. Everybody in the room very much like this one, which made it all the more bittersweet for me. Just bitter, really, honestly, just all bitter. Very upsetting that I couldn't. Again, I literally it was like for like a
Welcome to
10-minute
my
period.
world.
My taste I was just like, dude, I'm not getting any, or at least, yeah, it was stupid. Uh, but it came back for the proprietors after this, so that's the good news.
Well, that's good news. It's so Bananas Foster's the Bananas Foster I like, and because I don't like bananas in general. I don't like bananas to eat them. I don't like banana bread. I don't like.
Do you like them in your house?
I do not like them with a mouse.
Do you like them on a chair?
I will not eat them anywhere.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they've been in my house because the bride will eat a banana. She doesn't mind a banana.
Bananas are amazing.
A lot of people love bananas. It's a texture thing for me.
Mm.
Don't like the texture. Don't like it. But I like it put it in a Bourbon County Stout, and I'm down to clown. Proprietors, let's go.
So it seemed with everybody. I mean, like I said, very popular. I will buy one when it comes out and try it again. Proprietors. Now this one, notes of rice, raisin, cinnamon, brown sugar. Didn't you say that was all for the Bananas Foster? That's what I wrote down for proprietors.
No, this is vanilla custard, dried fruits, toasted rice, and a warming spice for this year's proprietors.
Why did that's on the wrong page?
They did use raisins, cassia bark, and brown sugar in the style, but with the flavors, you're getting more of a dried fruit and a custard a vanilla custard flavor.
Okay.
And they said that it was inspired by rice pudding. That's why you're getting those different styles and those different tasting notes.
Yeah, and this one again, I didn't. No, this one I did specifically write down. I'm not detecting the nuance, but I do really like it.
Yeah.
So there's something about the consistency, the viscosity, perhaps that really did appeal to me. So again, I'll also have to pick up some proprietors.
Yeah, I got to get a bottle of proprietors. This and the 2-year were my two favorites. That's not to say that I didn't enjoy the others, but if you said, here are the 6, pick your 2, I go proprietors and I go 2-year.
Okay. All right. 2-year, I'm with you.
Yeah. I enjoyed the proprietors quite a bit, as I normally do. They do a great job, as the brewers, as everybody there gets to try a different recipe. They always knock it out of the park with the proprietors.
Yes.
So those were my two favorites. I mean, and I don't want to, what are we going to go through and rank them all 6? Because I always have to you got to take the basic one out. Again, the basic one stands by itself. That's always a thing. I would say then it's Bananas Foster, Backyard, and probably the cask aged one was my least favorite.
Oh, interesting. Oh, yeah. No, that was my favorite, I think.
I know. See, that's,
Look at that.
That's why we're in America.
I can't even rank.
Have opinions.
I can't even rank mine because, well, on some things, I can't even rank mine because, couldn't taste 2 of them. But I would say cask and 2-year, first and second, respectively. And I want to try the bananas one the most.
All right.
And I want to try the proprietors again. But probably less than them. The backyard didn't jump out for me. But that was as my taste was going. So who knows?
Who knows? Well, we'll have to get a bottle of Bananas Foster and a couple others and sit down and do the do.
Yeah.
Do what we do.
Well, I know we are getting close to time. So I
want to hear, because I can always talk about gym class, because I did start my residency as a PE teacher today. I was in last week for 3 days working with the PE teacher, learning the ropes. But today the office is mine, and it's an office filled with all sorts of athletic equipment, as you would imagine. It is a dark, dank, no-windowed office filled with balls and pumps and lacrosse rackets and cones and everything else. And I can sit in there and nobody can find me. And, the focus, I'm teaching the entire quarter. The focus is on throwing and catching. Ooh. So there will be more throwing and catching updates as we go on through the quarter.
I never learned to throw and catch.
I can tell. I don't know what that means. Well, I could teach you, Cody. There's 4 real quick. Send your son and daughter over. I'll teach them. It's step with the opposite, aim with the opposite, twist and throw.
Ooh.
Ball should be at your ear, not down here. I say to the little kid, should the ball be down here? No. Should the ball be way up here? No. It's like I'm working with the scarecrow from The Wizard of Oz. The ball should be over there, and then I throw it over there. It's over there. So I teach your son to throw if you can't.
Yeah, I thank you. I've been wondering about who should take on that role. I think you'd be appropriate.
Well, listen, I don't know if you know this. I'm a PE teacher now.
I heard that.
That's a lot of the principal asked if I was getting all my athleisure wear in order. And I am. I have new athleisure pants, a lot of sweatshirts. Can't wear my Crafty Brewers sweatshirt to school though.
Mm.
But I can do that. That's an ongoing. That's for the next 12 weeks. I'm doing that, so we'll have a lot of updates on that kind of thing. But you said you had a take on something big in the world, and I want to hear it because the time before when things had just jumped off, you didn't want to talk about stuff. You were very angry. You didn't want to talk about stuff. We talked about, you and I discussed that before the show. So on the air on here, nobody ever knew, but you told me, I don't want to talk about this, but now tonight you said, I have a take on something. So please, I will cede. I will turn off my mic so I can blow my nose and I will be listening to your take.
Okay. Yeah. So I have a take It is on, it's excuse me. Now I'm gonna cough, he'll blow his nose, we'll just mute ourselves for a minute. Okay, well, we're back.
I'm back.
Oh, look at that. It's great timing. So, yeah, I do wanna say something related to what is happening in the Middle East right now with the Israel situation. Um, and I've thought a lot about it, and I've read a lot about it, and I've consumed a lot of things about it, and I will be very respectful to everybody. Don't worry, Roger. Even I can have some chills sometimes. Um, but what my take is a lot of people, like a lot of people, are 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 really like seem very affected in a very like very seriously emotional way about what is happening, and a lot of sympathy for the innocent Palestinians, not the terrorists, but the innocent Palestinians. Like there's a huge amount of that happening right now. Protests, huge protests, like record breaking protests around the world, even the U.S., including with many Jews,
Sure.
um, and so I know there are many factors one could attribute to this and will, right? Some of it's probably anti-Semitism. Some of it is X and Y and Z. There's 100 different reasons why people would feel one way or the other. But what I think is happening, and I've just found interesting, was I spend a lot of my time on Twitter, and I cannot go on Twitter anymore.
Yeah, stay off Twitter.
No, but, like, the specific reason is because people are sharing images and videos of
Oh,
mutilated and murdered children.
see, I don't know. I don't see those on my feed. Maybe it's because I only look at the people I'm following.
Yeah, and some of it is the people I'm following because
Oh,
people
really?
are affected, and when you see something like that, and it impacts you in a certain way, the first thing you wanna do is share it. Um, Not a great analogy, but somewhat in the same vein, the George Floyd protests. Everybody was sharing pictures and videos of people being, brutalized by police or injustices on either side, and just lots of, you see what you perceive is not just, and you share it because you're like, someone's gotta be held accountable, someone's gonna be held responsible. None of that really matters so much, but what I'm trying to say is, like, I think we've all read in the textbooks that a big factor in the Vietnam War and people turning against the government was when images were broadcast of war.
Mhm.
People don't like to see that, and you'll
No, war
notice
is war is not pretty.
war is
That's
not pretty, and people, it's not just that they don't like to see it on their TV, it's that because sometimes an image can have a visceral
Mhm.
impact that supersedes all logic, right?
Sure.
So there are a lot of reactions and actions people are gonna take because of that, just because they see an image. Um, and in that vein, what I'm saying is this, I think, is the first issue in the first large scale conflict in the modern era in the United States population that is essentially becoming the new social media version of Vietnam, where if you spend enough time on social media, and my wife is seeing this stuff on Instagram. She follows yoga teachers. Like, she should not see this stuff on Instagram, but it's creeping into
Wow,
people's
and
feeds.
I guess I have not seen any of it, to be honest, and I'm on, you know, Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, and
You should count yourself very lucky. And
I do.
a couple times I have checked the trending topics, and one has been, hashtag anything related to it. And you tap
Mhm.
on that, and within 3 to 5 pictures, um,
Yeah.
if you like, I mean, if you go onto a search social engine and you type in dead children or
Well,
anything like that,
to be
you'll
honest,
find it.
I don't need to see them. I know I've seen enough in my years, pictures of horrible pictures from war.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know what war looks like. I know what a bomb can do to the human body. I've seen it. I've seen it documented for me by news agencies for decades. Um, and I agree with you that those images do cause people to, you know, have all kinds of feelings.
Yeah.
You would, thankfully, because if you could look at those without any feelings, then you're a monster.
Yeah.
Um, and uh, it's very hard to justify. I mean, I saw an interview. David Muir did an interview with Netanyahu today, and listen. I have no problem with Israel trying to wipe out Hamas. Hamas and the Palestinians are two different things. So that's a very important distinction, because Hamas took over running Palestine. That is not the Palestinian people. And Hamas's sole mission, even now after the war has been going on for a couple of weeks, their stated mission is to destroy Israel and all Christians from the region. So, okay, I think Israel is justified in what they're in trying to take out Hamas. The problem becomes after this time, as we're seeing all the innocent people, because we can talk about war isn't pretty and stuff, but collateral damage like that it's hard to take, and it's not, you can't justify it, you know, and to not have an ability for people to escape, that's the thing. It's like, you got to let them out. The people who don't want to be there, who aren't the ones who are fighting, you got to let them go. You got to let them, thankfully now some humanitarian stuff has been able to reach these people. Egypt, but the border at Egypt is crowded. You can't get them out. But yeah, I don't want to see these images. I know all you have to tell me is there's a war and there's bombings. I got enough of a Rolodex up here. I know what that looks like.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Yeah, and I guess the reason I wanted to bring it up is just look, realities do vary. You're not seeing it, and I imagine and hope that a lot of people your age or older or any Gen X or above, may not be seeing this. Maybe you're just on Facebook and you're
Well,
not on.
see, but here's the thing: you don't watch the news, right? You don't watch network news and stuff.
Right, right.
There's a lot of images. There's people on the ground. You're seeing the bodies covered up. You're seeing the destruction of the town. You're seeing in Gaza. You're seeing smoking buildings and piles of bodies. So it's not like oh, if you're not on social media, you're not being exposed to this. If you watch any news, you're seeing it. Because they learned. You said it yourself first. Vietnam taught them that. So you've got all these reporters and journalists on the ground on both sides, and now they're in Gaza because that's where, unfortunately, that's where the story is at this point. But so it's out there, and you can't really, if you expose yourself to news at all, no matter what platform you get your news coverage, you're seeing imagery, you're getting the description, this is for people my age or older. We've been through, I was at the very tail end. Like, I was in grade school when Vietnam ended. So I remember a little of the, like, the evacuation and stuff, that kind of stuff. But then, we grew up through Afghanistan and Kuwait and all those. We've been watching war for a long time. So it's out there. The scenes from, well, we were seeing the scenes from Ukraine. Now we're seeing the scenes from Israel and Palestine. And so it's there. You don't have to be on social media. I guess on social media, you could sit and focus on it. Whereas if I'm watching ABC News, they're doing a 5-minute report from there, and the images are moving at a quicker pace. I'm seeing them, and then they're gone. Whereas if I'm scrolling, I can stop and fixate on this picture and really let it mess with me. Or I can just see it, identify it, know it's bad, and then we're on to the next.
Yeah. I've been using a lot of soft focus when I scroll.
Nice.
So
Is that the edible? Does that the edible puts a soft focus on?
Probably helps.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, no, I wanted to bring all that up and bring up the, people don't think rationally, when you see something like that, it's like emotionally, you're just wired to like feel something, right, for the people
Oh,
and
sure.
empathize.
Of
Uh,
course.
yeah, and I think that's why I just think it's really impacting everybody and getting to everybody. And
Yeah. Yeah,
I
and you can't blame it. If you're Palestinian and you even if you have don't have relatives there, if you're Palestinian, you see that you're going to feel one way, and if you're Jewish and you have relatives or not in Israel, you're going to feel another way. There's, you know, and if you're just an observer, you're going to feel another way too.
yeah. Anyway, uh, having said all that, I am like out of energy to give towards like emotion to this conflict.
Okay.
And what I think needs to happen is we don't want another Donald Trump presidency.
I don't.
And I think the
I
longer
don't.
this goes on, the more it helps Trump's chances. Because a
I
lot of
well,
people
I let me say this.
are not rational thinkers.
But
People are not smart.
how the only I agree with you. Here's my caveat to that. The Republicans in the House and Senate now are the ones who are pushing aid to Israel, not to Ukraine. So the MAGA wings are saying, yes, we got to help Israel because they're our strong military allies. So, but they're getting off the Ukraine thing because that was against Russia, right? And we can't. What is Ukraine? Blah 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 blah. So they're, I don't know. The only thing that may feed into your theory, which is a good one, is that Trumpy is well, when none of this would have happened if I was in office. I had a call like that on TMJ. Like, none of this would have happened if Trump was in office. I go, really? Because I seem to remember there being problems in the Middle East for I don't know ever. Um, it wasn't just that started in 2020 when all of a sudden they went, you know what? Let's go crazy over here.
Yeah.
Let's start fighting.
The problem is that what you're saying is logic. And
I know.
here's my no, but like actually unironically, here's my thesis.
Oh, I love a thesis.
Nothing like people have short attention spans and memories,
Right.
but if I'm an 18-year-old voter and I'm scrolling through TikTok and I see mutilated children and I know that Joe Biden is the president, it might trip my wires and force me to blame him. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't, and Brian, it's not
I
logical,
no, I know, I
but it
know.
doesn't matter that the Republicans, would do
But
probably
does it
something,
matter that
whatever.
it's not our war. We're not there.
It does matter because we just sent them a bunch of money. And I will say, President Biden's decorum around this issue and the language he's used has made me hate him.
Wow.
He went over there and made a joke about a missile hitting a hospital. He did. He
All
did.
right, I'll have to
Someone
look that up.
he absolutely did. There was someone said something about how the missile that hit a hospital supposedly was from Hamas, and he said, "Well, they need to learn to aim better." He said that.
All
And
right.
that's fucked up, and that made me more upset than anything in politics. I hate Joe Biden, and I will not vote for him, and it won't matter because I live in Illinois. But that is me as a person who's, like, already pretty jaded. Like, if I'm a 19-year-old or a 20-year-old and I see a dead child's body, and I see him prancing around over there saying, "We'll let Israel do whatever they want at whatever cost," like, he is not presenting
No,
himself
no,
well.
listen, no, I gotta stop you there because he has been trying to get them to not act in a, he's using 9/11 as an example of don't let the vengeance take hold. Don't let that need for vengeance. Stop, think, figure out what's going on, and then proceed. he's saying, yes, you have a right to vengeance. You have a right for payback. But don't let the anger that you're feeling right at this moment, like we did, ruin you. So he has been trying to pump the brakes on Netanyahu and all of this, but when it comes down to it, it's not his country. So I will go back and check the joke. I'm not saying you're wrong. I didn't hear it, but I will say he hasn't been do whatever you want. They've been trying to push ceasefire, which Netanyahu won't listen to. They've been trying to push, how about a humanitarian break to let people get out of there?
And Wait a minute. They're not pushing a ceasefire because that's like a whole language thing, right? No one's allowed to
they
say
tried
ceasefire.
when he first went over, that was part of what they were going to talk about, but Israel said no, that's not a thing. And even tonight with David Muir, Netanyahu said there's no ceasefire because we've done that before and it didn't work. So diplomacy has been working to try to curb the righteous anger of Israel and also trying to figure out a way to help the Palestinian people get out of there, get out of Hamas's way, because Hamas likes to use them, But Netanyahu said until they get all the hostages back, this is how it's going to be. So, yes, Israel is our ally. You can only do so much with an ally. You can't make them do what you want them to do.
I'll have to check the tape. I believe George Bush I think it was him. He basically called them at one point and was like, "Stop doing this thing," and they did. And it was some kind of ceasefire situation. Um, but I have to check the tape on that also.
Check the tape.
I have a hard time believing that if the president of the United States called up the head of Israel and said, like, "Look, you guys need to stop this right now because my poll numbers are going down even more," and or whatever. I don't know. Well, we give you like we just voted for $20 billion in aid. He couldn't call Congress and be like, "You guys, I don't know. Like, are we really that impotent? We're responsible for like it's between 5 and 10% of Israel's, defense budget is us giving them money. Like, are we really that impotent as the world's, greatest country with the greatest military? We've got battleships sitting around off the coast there. We give them billions of dollars in aid. We're the ones signaling to the whole world, don't mess with Israel. And we don't get to call any shots. We don't get to say, hey, slow down. We don't get to ask them any questions like, hey, if you're going to do this, like at least put together a halfway competent PR team to like not make it seem like we're just murdering people. Cause like the number of Israeli generals going on camera on CNN saying things like, we're just going to destroy all of them, destroy like the pigs or whatever they call them, like the dehumanizing language, like that clearly has no respect for them as human beings. Like we really believe that all of that is like, we really can't like get them to pull back at all, and we'll just still give them our undying support. I guess, like, I I guess it's possible given, like, affiliations and donors and whatever else, political whisperers, but I find it hard to believe. We're talking out both sides of our mouth, it feels like, and that maybe this is where our realities may vary. Maybe you trust Biden more than I do, but I look at our power and influence, and I don't see how we can't pull this back at all. You know what I mean?
Think of other allies on September 12th.
Mhm.
If they had told us not to start shock and awe on the targets that we were, that
But
we
no one
started
would do that
blowing up.
because we run the world. Like, our currency is the internet, like, the international standard, right? I mean, I'm right? Like, tell me if I'm saying something off,
No, but if we have allies who could have tried to, who we don't know, who could have been saying, listen, you slow
Right.
down. Let's find out the whole weapons of mass destruction bullshit, because we just were blinded by rage, as we should have been, and we acted on that rage. And I think that's what the administration now has been trying to do with Israel.
Mm.
Going, listen, learn from our mistakes. And they've actually used those words. You learn from our mistakes. We get it. Yes, you have every right to go and destroy Hamas. You don't have a right to destroy all these innocent people. And, they asked Netanyahu that today on the interview. What about all these innocent people? And he said, every innocent life lost is a tragedy, blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, then there's got to be a way. And I don't know, listen, I don't know anything about urban warfare. I don't know about the difference between airstrikes and I know what an airstrike versus a ground campaign is, but you can only exert your influence so much. The fact that we keep giving them money is because they are our strong allies in that region. And you've got to support your allies. You have to support your allies while you're still trying to. It's like a friend. If your friend is doing something wrong, you try to talk to them. You try to get them to come around to your way of thinking. And I do believe that's happening. It is not happening fast enough. The results are not being shown quick enough. There's no reason that something can't be done for the Palestinian people to get them out of harm's way. But Israel is not going to stop till they get those hostages back. And that's matter.
Is that true?
That's what Netanyahu said today.
We consume wildly different media. My understanding is Israel just shot a missile and killed like 30 of its own hostages.
Where did you hear that?
I will verify that.
That did not. Yeah, that I was watching the network interview with Netanyahu at 5:30 this evening, and there was no talk of that. He did say that some of the numbers need to be checked, but there was no talk of a missile killing hostage, an Israeli missile killing the hostages today, as far as from what I heard.
Okay, I will have to find it.
You got a lot of tape to check, my friend.
Well,
that's all right, and that's all right. Because we are both willing to check the tape.
Yeah, so I definitely read it on Twitter, and it definitely may not have been true, but I believe I looking for reliable sources for these things. However, there's always a chance there's not, which is unfortunate. Which is why my original point was a less controversial one, and that is based on I really think Democrats are in a lot of trouble.
1,000%.
I mean, they're already in a lot of trouble, but I don't think this is helping, and I don't think it's unifying the Democratic base.
No, I saw a guy. I saw a Democratic representative from Minnesota, and I can't remember his name. He was on Bill Maher the other night, and he just filed to run for president. And he goes, I don't even want to run for president. He said, I like Joe Biden. I think he's done a great job, but he's not going to win. We need somebody younger. We need somebody different. And, I've tried to reach out to other prominent Democrats, and nobody's willing to take the chance. Everybody's looking to 2028. He said, but we need something now, because if we don't do something now, there might not be, things might look very different in 2028. So I'm not an apologist for anybody. I don't carry the unbridled flag for anybody. I just, I'm not, boy, I don't know what's going to happen. But to your earlier point, I'm looking on CNN now, and there is a pretty, there's no body parts, but there's blood, and there's body bags, and there's a man collapsed over one of the body bags sobbing. So to your imagery thing, that is, there's images all over.
Okay.
All right. 2 hours ago on CNN, Israeli airstrikes hit near Al-Quds Hospital in Gaza City Monday night. Israeli military maintained that it has requested civilians in Gaza City move south. There's nothing about a rocket killing hostages.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of people spreading it. Like, I see a lot of tweets, but I am trying to find a source.
Yeah.
And, because that's the thing. I mean, I just see something multiple times. That's the other thing about this whole mess there's so much BS going on both sides. Like, I mean, misinformation is being,
Oh
I
yeah.
think, released to
Uh-huh.
people, and I do think that that's
Dude, let's change the topic a little. Since you brought up disinformation, do yourself a favor and watch last night's episode of The Circus on Showtime.
Oh, you love that show.
I do. Last night they took kind of a little off ramp, and instead of talking about all the politics, they focused on AI and stuff in the upcoming election. And
Ooh.
it's who's the guy? You'll know the guy. He was the one who came out about Facebook. He's all about ethical social
Jaron
media.
Lanier.
Huh?
Jaron Lanier. Jaron Lanier.
No. Is it a Christian somebody?
Oh, I don't know.
It was, but he was on. There were all kinds of people. There were strategists on who talked about how it's changed. From first it was Facebook, that it was Twitter in different campaigns, and now it's, what that while AI can help in some ways, in the wrong hands with all this money, it's gonna be crazy. So everybody do yourself a favor before everything gets really cranked up for the next election. Watch The Circus from last night on Showtime and just listen to all these people who are on both sides, Republicans and Democrats. They've run campaigns, they've done all this, talk about what we can expect to be bombarding us with in the next election cycle. It is crazy. Crazy.
Well, that's a good recommendation.
Listen, I only have good recommendations. Am I going to
Thanks for
recommend a
thanks for
puppet show?
thanks for changing the subject. I could not find a
I wasn't
primary
trying
source.
to. I wasn't trying to
No,
change the
no, I'm
subject. It was
glad you did.
adding on to what
No,
you
no, no,
were.
you should no, I mean, well, it doesn't matter. I like what you did. It was what I was trying to say. So,
Okay.
the nuance, who cares about the details?
All
Who
right.
cares how you get there? Who cares how you make the pie? As long as you know there's a little weed in there.
Right
So,
on. Let me tell you this. I'm going to see Beetlejuice on Wednesday.
Oh.
And I've already demanded the Bobert treatment.
Oh.
I don't think that went over well.
But
we'll see.
Are you trying to ask me to go with you?
No, your hands are too rough.
It's good about lifting.
That's true, because you're all jacked. Too jacked. All right. Well, this was an interesting episode. We covered a lot. We said a lot of things. We did many things.
Yeah,
we've got a lot of tape to check.
What I said about them killing their own hostages with missiles was unverifiable and perhaps incorrect. And I don't like misinformation, so I apologize if I added to it. I hope you get this far in the podcast. But it's hard to parse through what's actually
There's
happening.
A lot out there. There's
And
a lot out there.
Yeah, I think we like agree on 99% of all of it.
There's a lot to agree with, and we are different generations. I am cynical, but I very, very cynical. But there's certain things where I allow myself to believe or to hope that the best is happening. I try to consume all kinds of media and news, and I do tend to go with more established, just for things like this where I'll get stuff from both sides because I don't believe anything at first blush, but I definitely always triple check like Twitter stuff, just because that's Twitter and Facebook to me is not. I know that's where people get the news. I heard this, and you'll know that young people are getting their news on TikTok, but not from news organizations, from news influencers.
Mm-hmm.
That's a thing now where people just read the paper.
Mm-hmm.
How is that going to work? How does that work? Does it work?
The kids these days, man.
I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm just saying I don't get it.
Social media was the defining technology of my generation. Next to Gen Z, it'll be AI. Who knows what it'll be for my kids? For you, it was what,
Again,
the boombox? It was the boombox for you,
it
right?
was the Walkman
The
or the
walk.
Discman. The Discman
Ooh.
was the non-skip Discman was the defining moment. And Atari, the yellow Atari with the two little black knobs. That
I
was
mean,
it.
there's worse things to be the technology of your generation.
That's right. So that was, yeah, I think that was the technology. And color TV. Those were the technologies of my generation.
Nice.
And touch tone phones. We had wow. What do I sounded like, somebody's grandmother. All these things came to life during my lifetime. It's fantastic. But listen, I try to keep up, but I'm not gonna watch some 18-year-old read me the newspaper. I can read the newspaper myself.
Can you?
I don't read an actual newspaper anymore. Like everybody, I read it online.
No, I read my local newspaper from Rock Valley Publishing.
Does that come free of charge to your house?
No, I pay.
Wow.
Actually, I let my subscription lapse because I forgot
boy.
to mail them a check because they don't take online payments. But once I get through my
Wow.
stack of papers on my desk, I will resubscribe. I was at the haircut place getting my haircut a couple weeks ago, and they had a Lombardian right there. So I picked it up, read a couple stories, went and got my haircut. No, I was waiting for pizza. It was Friday.
Pizza Friday. Very
Pizza
nice.
Friday, yeah.
Pizza Friday.
Yeah, usually we do a couple frozens, but the last couple of weeks we've been lazy about grocery shopping. So
Nice.
I'm like, you know what? But I'm a little disappointed. My wife decided she's not a big fan about Pizza Hut.
Oh, I
And
haven't been to the Hut in
I
years.
love the Hut. They're
Do
just,
you really? See,
yeah.
that's a generational thing.
No, Pizza Hut pepperoni pizza, man. Like it's what I grew up. 226 1110 in Rockford. That's the Subway now or something. But it used to be Pizza Hut, and I had their number memorized. And we'd order large pepperoni pizzas, get some breadsticks. Yeah,
Wow.
let's go.
No,
I may order pizza right now because of that edible.
When I lived in Sparta, Illinois, the only pizza we had was Pizza Hut, and I ate it there, and it was fine.
When
because
it's your only choice, that's
that and Tombstone. Those were my two. That was my pizza. Well, the other night after Fobab, we're driving home, and we were I didn't know. Debbie had said she was gonna cook something, and then she goes, "Let's just get Domino's." I know. I'm like, we're surrounded by top tier pizza joints. She goes, yeah, but we can, you can get to two topping pizzas for $6.99 each. So it was like $15. And at that point I was tired, and I was like, oh, okay. And you know what? Sometimes Domino's tastes good.
Yeah.
It's not my go-to every day, but every once in a while it's like their sauces, it's all upgraded. Everything's upgraded.
Yeah. Yeah. We, on our way back from Fobab, we went to Popeyes, and I got 2 regular chicken sandwiches.
Ooh.
Because I didn't want spicy. And then I laid down on my couch in the living room and immediately passed out for 3 hours. Apparently my kids were playing around me, but according to my wife, eventually accepted me as one of the furnishings and started.
I was going to say, they didn't wake you up at all?
I guess they tried, but they weren't going to succeed.
No, they don't know Fobab. They don't know that's a deep sleep.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to go hack up some phlegm.
Me too.
And yeah, and that'll be fun. But thank you for listening. Thank you for being for commenting. Don't forget to listen to Crafty Brewers, Tales Behind Craft Beer. You can go. We have a new episode coming out this week. We had a great episode come out last week. So go check that out. CraftyBrewersPod.com is the website. And so go check that out. You can hear all the episodes. You can read things, and you can order merch and all that kind of stuff. And we will be back with you next week. Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. Thank you, Cody.
For what?
Just being here, being you, being high, having a take. Loved it.
I wouldn't thank me for any of that, but there we go. Did you let me go with my take because you wanted to share your take, but you didn't want to be the one to bring it up?
No, I hadn't thought of my take.
Oh.
I mean, I always have opinions on things. That's why I said to you, I go, you tell me. I didn't know what your take was. I was like, tell me your take, and I will respond. in kind.
It ended up being not a good take.
No, it
Well,
was a
like, so
fine take.
people are seeing things on social media they don't see anywhere else. Actually, if you turn on the TV, it's everywhere else. Oh, well, all right, so it was a bad take, but I tried.
No, you
I
did
tried.
well.
Our realities didn't vary as much as I thought. Yet
What'd you
here
think
we
I was
are.
gonna What'd you think I was gonna say? Yeah, good. We should see more dead babies. Think that was gonna be my take?
I don't know what your takes are gonna be. You're
Exactly.
unpredictable.
I'm enigmatic.
You're an enigma wrapped in an enigma. Wrapped in an enigma
I'm a double stuffed enigma.
with cheese.
Right on.
Bah, yeah.